What's up guys? Today I'm going to show you a huge update on the EcoSphere that I made probably about 6 months ago. Here's where it is right now. As you can see, it is just full of vegetation. So the next bit of footage is just going to take you through the weeks and months of where it went and kind of what happened throughout that time period. So let's check it out. Alright, so this is what the current state of the EcoSphere is at about the 2-week mark. As we see, Mr. Snail has made a bold appearance already and he is crawling around. Now, I tried some new techniques in order to capture some more like macro type footage, so you might like it, you might not, but I think it turned out pretty cool. So far at the 2-week mark though, this is the only snail I'm seeing. I have not seen any other ones, so I'm sure it's a bit lonely in here for them, but we'll see kind of what happens next. By the way, I tried to identify everything in the jar this time, so I'm going to throw up random screenshots of Wikipedia. In this case, here's the snail and what it actually is, at least what I think it is, so if you want to look it up, you can. When I was searching around this time, I found something that looked kinda creepy. As you can see, it's this weird little worm looking guy with a weird tail. It was while I was watching the snail crawl around that he actually kind of led me to it. From what I can tell, I believe this is the larva form of a midge, and I'll put a Wikipedia screenshot up of the more specific type just so you're able to see what it is. Most of these midge larvae just kind of kept trying to get to the surface where I think they would probably molt, they would kind of molt shedding their exoskeleton, kind of, what's the word, what would you call that? Well, basically the midge fly will come out of this thing. So the midge fly has been developing inside of this exoskeleton, and when it gets to the surface and it's ready, the midge fly will kind of split the back of the exoskeleton open and it will emerge from its old former self. These things really kind of came out of nowhere because I didn't see anything for a while, and then all of a sudden what seemed like fully grown larva. I never noticed a smaller phase or smaller larva. All of a sudden there was about 6 of them, all at the same size. So I'm pretty surprised that I didn't see anything until the last second. Maybe they were kind of hiding in the mud or the bottom, and that's why I didn't notice them in some sort of cocoon or egg, or I don't know, something where I did not notice them until they tried to go to the surface. I'll keep an eye on them though and see if they decide to molt. As the larvae were approaching the surface, that's when I noticed that we still do have a terrestrial insect that does not require water crawling around, and there's about 2 or 3 of them, so there still is a population, but it appears to be dwindling. I have not yet been able to identify it. At first I thought they might be springtails because some of them kind of jumped like that, but they don't seem to share the same shape, or maybe it's a species I'm unfamiliar with, I'm not sure. Next we have our little football squiggly guys who just kind of rip around. They're still present in here. I see maybe 2 or 3 of them at a time sometimes, so they're still a healthy population. Again, here's the Wikipedia article about what these things are. One of the more interesting developments, which I did not notice right away because I thought it could be some sort of growth or plant or just something sitting on the surface of the glass, was these eggs. Now I noticed there's a single one and multiple eggs. They actually look like little aliens or something inside, and I'm guessing they're probably snail eggs, but I'm not 100% sure. Here's one of the eggs that's just single all by itself. When I zoom in, it looks pretty incredible to see its little organs or whatever forming. It's a cool sight to see a creature inside of its own egg. Alright guys, so I was going to let a lot more time pass, but I let only 3 days pass because some things started to actually happen, which is pretty cool. So that's why the jar doesn't look like it's changed much, but there has been some changes internally. Here, when I was just looking at the surface, I noticed that the egg sacs look different, and upon further investigation, I noticed a ton of them hatched or just left the egg sac altogether. I wasn't sure if the snail had eaten them or what, but if you look closely, you can see that there are still some eggs left, and they look like they may have died because it looks like small parasites or something are now filling the egg. Now, as I suspected earlier that these were snail eggs, indeed they are, because now there's tons of small baby snails crawling around the surface of the glass. What's wild is they're just so small and their shells are so thin that you can see their organs and what almost looks like some sort of snail heart or I don't know what, just pumping away. Maybe it's pumping water through and that's how they breathe, or it's pumping their blood around. I'm not sure, but it's pretty cool to see their organs working inside of them as they crawl on the glass. Also, to the right of this tiny snail, you'll notice the freshwater donut. I've noticed these little things, and I'm not sure what they are, but they're just a tiny little donut-shaped object, and I think they look pretty funny. This guy doesn't seem to be too interested in it. Here's another baby snail, and this one actually looks like it must have been born first, because this one's shell is much thicker, and it just seems like it's aged a little longer than the other one. Or maybe this one hatched from an egg sac that I did not notice 3 days ago. These could have been crawling around already, and I just couldn't see them. But you can see he has spotted a freshwater donut, and hopefully he will eat it. And indeed, he has eaten the donut. This is, I don't know, when I was watching this, I thought it was hilarious because I was watching him approach, and I'm like, come on, man. Like, you can do it, you can eat that thing. And then finally, he just kind of like grabbed it, and just watching his tiny little mouth eat that little donut thing, just, I don't know, it really cracked me up. For those of you that really missed hearing about the Nightidae, whatever it is, have no fear, these things are still present. Although their numbers are starting to dwindle, I'm not noticing that many. So maybe their food source is leaving, or they're just not breeding properly because of water issues. Alright guys, so now quite a bit of time has passed, about 2 months, and we are now in May in the cycle of this ecosphere. You can see there's some greenery inside. Plants are starting to grow a little bit more. They've had a lot more time to absorb light, and you can see the snail population has increased significantly. From watching other videos on the internet, I've noticed that a lot of ecospheres have this issue where the snails start to take over and they kind of like take up all the resources. Again, I didn't really notice many species left in this ecosphere. At this point, it was mostly snails. I did manage to see some of the crustacean type creatures, the really tiny ones, but they're very few and in between, and it was too difficult for me to get them on camera. It seems this ecosphere might be becoming more of a snail house than anything else. I guess one of the perks is the glass is slowly starting to get clearer, but as they eat all the food, you can see by looking at the top of this jar, which I was very surprised by, is there's a lot of dead snails. I'm wondering if they're running out of food and so they leave the water in search of other food and then kind of just die up there. I have no idea, and I'm not sure what would cause them to all line up on the surface like that. It just seems like a really weird phenomenon where they all just kind of get to the surface of the water and just die. I don't know why they would do that, but it's very interesting to see at the very least. Alright, we're going to skip another 2 months into July. So this is pretty recent footage, still kind of a month behind, but this is about as much of an update as you need, so this is why I'm showing you. As you see, the plants have really bloomed quite a bit. There's a lot of green growth, but that's really about it. Sadly, at this point, all there are just a few snails. It seems the population has balanced out. There's not crazy blooms of them anymore, and the food source, along with the snail reproduction, have kind of kept at pace, so there's just a steady amount of snails. With all the glass super clean, it's very difficult for me to see any worms. They're not really crawling on the glass anymore. I think if they're still in here and those other crustacean type things are still in this jar, most of them are going to be down in the substrate at the bottom just because there's really nothing on the glass anymore. And it's very difficult for me to film anything that's in the substrate. So I can kind of watch, but I haven't seen much activity. Alright, so I guess this is kind of where I should wrap up about this jar. I thought it was such a cool experiment. I'm so glad I did this. It was really neat to see how populations can bloom and fall, and just learning a lot about how certain factors can drastically affect what happens inside an ecosphere. I hope you guys enjoyed the journey that we went through all these weeks and months, and I'm going to make some more of these, so stay tuned. Alright guys, I hope you liked that update on the ecosphere. I thought it was pretty interesting to watch what all took place. Again, this all started from just some water in the middle of winter, and it really came a long way, so hopefully I can start some more of these up in the future. If you guys like it, just let me know, hit the like button, or even comment, because these videos have probably done the least well on my channel, so I don't know if people actually like watching these. But if you guys do, just comment in there or like it, and I'll know, and I'll try and make some more for the future. As always, I hope your guys' plants grow strong and healthy, and if you got ecospheres, hopefully they grow strong and healthy too. See you guys next time.